Chat, I mean.
And we're live! What's going on, everyone? It's Azora Hype, and I'm here with two of the most handsome gentlemen in YouTube, and also two of my best friends in the whole community. Really excited to be here today. If you can't hear it in my voice, I'm hype. We already got the toss a coin to your YouTuber train going on with Morley and some other awesome people. But without further ado, before we get into introductions into chat and all that, I'm going to introduce my special guest. And first, we're going to start off. I think he's below me right now. It's Robert In Deep Geek.
Did you just say? I won't say it. Never mind.
In Deep Geek.
I am below you, Kyle, in quality and every other way. The beauty of beards, I don't know. It's a delight to be here. As always, Kyle, you are one of the most beautiful people on this planet, and I'm just going to spend the time gazing in wonder at you. Oh, and if you don't know me, my name's Robert. My channel is In Deep Geek. Hello.
One of the, like, if you like ASMR and you like listening to videos before you go to bed, highly suggest Robert In Deep Geek. He'll not to say, I'm not saying he's boring, but he'll make you relaxed. You'll listen.
I will send you to sleep, is what Kyle's trying to say.
So Robert, actually, the Well Told Tale is like perfect for that, isn't it?
So you can find all the links for all of Robert's stuff in the description of this video. And we have over here. No, wait. We have GeekChat1, JR Rally. I almost said Robert. Wow, my bad. JR, what's going on?
Nothing. What's going on, Kyle? Robert, good to see you again. Good to be back on and do this. It's been a while since we've done one like this, so I was super excited and very flattered that you asked. I was like, yes, I will. I'll absolutely come on for this one.
Yeah, it's always the ladies, right? The ladies are always dominating everything and taking like Helen and Gemma this and that. But today it's a boy stream, and it's going to be fun. I'm really excited. We've never done a live stream or done a video together chatting about The Witcher. For most of you know that we've talked about Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire. So this is really cool. We're going to talk about each of our experiences with The Witcher, how we came to find The Witcher. We're not going to try to spoil too much about after season 1, the books. We'll talk some about that. We're going to talk about our personal experiences with The Witcher. And we're going to take some questions from the chat. Hello to everyone from Witcher Addicts, GeekChat1 Facebook, and Kyle Azora Hype Facebook. So we're multi-streaming right now from StreamYard. Really cool new feature. Super excited for everyone that's joining and listening. And if you are on Facebook, come join us on YouTube. We're going to be hanging out and come ask us questions in the live chat. So we got a couple of donations to go through first here. We got some really awesome, generous people in chat, and then we're going to do some shout outs. I see Maura Lee. She says, $25 donation. We love you, Maura. She says, to Kyle, Robert, and JR, 3 of the most handsomest, intelligent content creators on YouTube. Love all the fabulous content on each of your channels. You 3 do an amazing doing amazing work. Look forward to this live stream. So she's excited. And then she put a sticker. You are amazing. I'm assuming that's for all 3 of us. And then we got a question. And so, thanks, Laura, for tossing a stream or tossing a coin to your YouTubers. And we'll get to this question right after we do our introduction on how we found The Witcher. So, Robert In Deep Geek, me and you have chatted privately. You've read some of the books. You've watched all of season 1, of course. He's got his mustache on his mug there with his teeth. So talk a little bit about your experience with The Witcher and your own personal experience with the books and the show.
Yeah, so I loved it, is basically where we're at. And I think that my experience was similar to a lot of people's experience. Coming out from season 8 of Game of Thrones, I'm not going to dig back into that, but I think a lot of people were searching for something that they could love, something that they could just get really passionate about and excited about. And The Witcher is all of that. It's got background, it's got history, it's got characters, and you know what? It's got hunky people fighting monsters. It's got beautiful wizards. It's got wizards and towers. It's got destiny. It's got everything you could possibly want. I loved it. It was basically written for me.
And just to go on record, you're a huge fan of fantasy. This is like what I was talking about with Disease last week. Unabashed. high fantasy. That's what it is. It's just great high fantasy. Definitely more. I don't want to compare it to Game of Thrones. Definitely more of that magical element. A lot more of silly moments, comedic moments. Really, really funny. If you go into the books, there's lots of great comedy. But yeah, I'm on board with you, Robert. I loved it personally. You're also listening to the audiobooks and reading the books, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So I read the books, and I'm going through the audiobooks at the moment. This is a fully imagined world. It's not. We can talk about comparisons to things like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones if you want. It's not that, but what it is for itself works perfectly. And it just presses all of the buttons that we want it to press. It's got the right amount of action, a little bit of comedy, enough stuff to get you thinking about it, and particularly in the books when you go through there, they come across first of all as a little bit kind of sub-Conan high fantasy. But the further you get in there, the more you realize actually there's another level going on. There's a few extra messages here that are just kind of seeping into the subconsciousness as I'm reading it. And I love that. I think they're really well written. And I think that the adaptations, they're not word for word, but they've got the spirit just right.
We have some awesome people in chat. Stacy Meyer, which actually connects to what you're saying. She's from the Witcher Addicts and a great admin on the Witcher Addicts. She says the lore keeps me coming back for more. And Robert, you were just talking about the world. There's just great. Like we talked about how the source material is really important when you're building this world, whether it's movies, and it always enhances a project if you're doing an adaptation, if you have books and material of comics in the background that just enriches the world. So thanks for that comment. We'll do some shout outs in just a second. JR, me and you I've talked about The Witcher extensively in private conversations, just geeking out as friends. You watched the first season. You had some critiques of it, but you mostly enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I did. And like I said, it's kind of just nitpicks here and there. And it's really not what the critics have been panning at either. It's not what they did. It's just the execution stuff. So it's really the filmmaking of it and some things that I had a hard time with, like the musical score dubbed high over audio, which means you can't hear what they're actually saying, which doesn't matter for me because I watch it with subtitles most of the time because I'm deaf. But I had a lot of people, and myself included, when I didn't have my hearing aids in, I was like, wow, is that just me, or is that music score, that track just overpowering the dialogue? And they're like, no, it totally is. I'm like, okay, good, it's not me. So, I mean, just little stuff. It's filmmaking stuff. It's not really critiques on the story. I thought they did well what they trimmed down and then put into other stories to continue what they needed out of it. I thought they did a great job of adapting what they did. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get one specific story out of
The Last Wish.
The Last Wish, but that one was really more fun because it really doesn't do anything for the plot or the story arc. It just
is it the one with Nevellin? Are you talking about?
It's exactly the one it is. It's Nevellin. I wanted Nevellin so bad.
Well, that still may happen in season 2 because
it's possible because they really only took sort of Destiny and The Last Wish with a little bit of Blood of Elves. And so what I think they did with this season is really setting up going heavy into Blood of Elves.
Yeah.
And I think it was a great setup for that. I mean, it's season 1. We have to establish characters. We have to do and they were good with exposition. I actually liked it. I was like, it wasn't over the top. I
think too, like, what's going to I mean, like you talked about the critics, and I want to connect to just what you were saying there for a second. Some of the stuff that the critics were saying, some of these reviews, they're like, well, I skipped 4 episodes. Well, no wonder you didn't understand the totality of what happened in the season. And I'm not saying that it wasn't confusing, because the time to get to the timeline, to get to that episode 5 where the characters start to converge, and that's really what you're saying, JR, is when the stories start to converge and you have the big 3 POV characters together, which is eventually going to happen,
right?
Is going to do wonders for the story, because then you can go from, hey, we have Geralt and Yennefer and Ciri, and then we have Nilfgaard, and then we have all these. You can kind of do these, like, the good guy, bad guy, the different POVs, kind of the more the black and white kind of storytelling that you get But then we get, obviously the graying of the characters was fantastic in the season and all of that. But you've also read the books. Just want to make clear for people in the chat, we've all kind of dabbled in the books. I played all the games. I'm actually replaying The Witcher 3 right now. Played some last night.
What'd you think of The Hunt?
The Wild Hunt was the best game of the last decade. Actually, there was a poll on IGN this week and on Twitter where The Wild Hunt 3 beat out Zelda Breath of the Wild for the game of the decade. So
I'm not surprised, honestly.
Just narrowly. But let's do some shout outs in the chat. There is another donation in there. Yeah, there's so many awesome people here today. Like I said, we're going to take some questions from chat too.
Can you hear Kyle?
No, I can't hear Kyle. Kyle,
your audio went dead.
Okay.
But we can keep doing some shout outs. Hey, John Haymaker.
I disconnected my mic. Sorry about that.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
I just took over reading.
No, sorry about that, everyone. Peter Griffin. We got Carrie Harrison, Anime Lover. We got Maura Lee, Anna Iglesias. JR, why don't you do some shout outs?
Where are we at now? Okay. Forrest Blurted, good to see you. Danny McKay, how's it going, my man? Single mom life, like thug life, but realer. Hi, how you doing?
We got the Bandersnatch. Helen's in the chat. Our friend Helen.
Bandersnatch, that formerly known as Mama Ogre. Good to see you.
We got John Webster in the chat. We got Asen, John Haymaker, Anime Lover, who just became a patron of the channel today. Thank you very, very much. Amanda, the Fearless Mermaid. And if anybody new is joining today, I saw the Laughing Storm. He just created a YouTube channel, another Canadian. Great. Saw you in the chat from the Witcher Addicts. If anybody new is in chat, you're in the live chat. You haven't spoke up yet. Welcome. Blazing Phoenix, I see in there, and I'm sure we're gonna have some cool new people. But yeah, we got a question from Maura Lee. It's a donation, and then there was another donation that we missed, and then we'll get into some breakdown of season 1. I think that would be fantastic. So I'm just gonna scroll up here. Maura Lee has a question for us. Question for all three: what is it about The Witcher? The game, the books, or the show that intrigued you? Was it the world, the characters? What was the thing that really stood out with you? I'll start with JR this time since we started with Robert last.
For me, it's just good high fantasy. That's what resonated with me. I read the books long ago and got to come back to them. I only read like the first two, like Blood of Elves and Sword of Destiny, but that was years ago. Anyway, but I've had a great time going back through and getting reintroduced to all these characters. I've always thought they were really fun characters to hang out with. They have personal problems and issues. They were real in a world that seems so foreign to us. So, the world's changed, but people don't. So I just enjoyed it. It's just a good time. It's not a super heavy read, but it is enough that you're enjoying it and intrigued by it.
So what you're trying to say is that there's characters that we can connect with, and there's real world problems that we can associate with our timeline and be like, oh, okay, like I like, xenophobia and politics and all these kind of sort of things that we have in high fantasy, these kind of overarching themes that we kind of have to grapple with. So that's one of the big connections that you're saying, JR, that you enjoy from it. Same here. I see Robert is getting a whiskey. I think he's having a whiskey right now, or a glass of wine. I heard some
plugging in my charger, Kyle.
So thanks for that, JR. So JR says just overall, just the high fantasy world. For you, Robert, what is the thing that got you into The Witcher that you connect with it the most?
Well, I have to agree with JR that it's just well-written high fantasy, which just works for me. I just love all of the tropes, and there are tropes, and tropes it's not a bad word. It's just a shortcut, a thing that allows us to understand the world that we're in, and it's got all of those things that I absolutely love. What I loved about the books in particular that I hope they're going to bring out in the show, they haven't really done it yet, but I hope they're going to do, is these extra layers, these kind of things I was saying earlier, these things that kind of like start to seep into your subconscious to make you go, oh, there's another layer here. We talked a little bit about the sort of the ethnocentricity and the othering that's going on there. That is a really key theme that's happening here. Also, these questions of destiny. I love these kind of questions that are there. What can you escape destiny? Or can you just, does a destiny mean that you cannot be yourself? These are the kinds of questions I'm hoping that they're going to grapple with in season 2 and beyond, because it's not just, I hope, certainly in the books it isn't, on the show it's not just about well, here's a really cool character killing lots of monsters, and there's like some kind of overarching plot about him being destined to be connected to these other two people. That hopefully there's another layer going on top of that as well.
Well, I can say for certain that that's going to happen, because Lauren, the showrunner, she's connected to Andrzej Sapkowski, who's obviously the author of the Witcher books. And they're actually, I believe they film, it's the second week of February or the first week of February. They're starting season 2, like they're in production and all of that. And she says they're, they're going to be exploring some more of what you talked about, Robert. And that's kind of the main critique, I guess, of season 1 was that was kind of the hard thing to follow. Like, what was the point that they really wanted to make? And I think that they're going to expand on that. We got all these anti-Elven attitudes, and obviously this, monarchy with the kings and queens and what that means and how they hold power, and the idea of the power of choice. Like, are you able to really affect the world? And then chaos, like your choices, how does it affect the world? I mean, look at Yennefer, for example. She didn't become the court mage for Nilfgaard, and then Fringilla becomes the mage of Nilfgaard, and she has this spitefulness and this this thing within her where she kind of wants to get revenge because she was supposed to be in the kingdom of Lyria. So I love that you said that, Robert, and it's definitely going to be explored in season 2. I hope that we get more episodes, by the way, because it isn't coming out until 2021, season 2, which is a bit of a bummer. But I would prefer if they took their time to make it as good as possible. So yeah, let's get into another question. And like I said, if you're in chat, if you have questions, put them down there for us. We'll try to get to as many as possible. Where was the last donation? I have to scroll up here because so many people are hyping chat. I love it. Did I miss it? It was a $5 donation. Uh-oh.
It was Marvin Martin a long time ago did one.
What was it, Robert?
I did not see. You probably have to go back into your YouTube account to get that one.
Yeah. Marvin, if you're still here, can you post that? Sorry, we are kind of going off. Your question where you donate. Thank you for the donation, by the way. Can you repost the question and we'll get to it as soon as you repost it. What are some other things that stood out in the meantime for you guys? I thought, episode 3 was my favorite. I really enjoyed the cinematic tone in that one, the horror vibes, especially when Geralt was hunting down the Striga. The wide angle shots were great. The color schemes were really cool. Like in the first episode, the whole story with Renfrey, and then, Geralt's going into the Wizard's Tower, and there's, all these beautiful naked women in this beautiful tree. What did you think about that, Robert? What was your, there's beautiful cinematic values, certainly, in the first season.
And I think it's the best standalone story that there is, to be honest. It's in terms of giving him an opportunity to show his skills, and also the engagement. I talked to JR on my stream a couple of weeks ago about this, but they slightly changed the engagement there with the king as well. But in terms of him actually figuring out what's going on, that and the first one with the Butcher of Blaviken, those were the two standout stories for me that really worked in showing how this character is not just somebody you can hire to go off and kill people. This is somebody who actually grapples with moral issues as well, who has a personal code. And in the books, it becomes very clear that the Witchers have a sort of code, but Geralt works his own code up going through life, through his long life. He figures out what it is that actually means to him to be a moral person. And I think those two stories with the Striga and the Butcher of Blaviken, those allow him the space to show who he is as a person.
Can we just give a round of applause for Jodie May, who played Queen Kalantha? Just absolutely fantastic performance, especially like her scenes, Banquets, Bastards, and Burials. I think that, that was a fantastic episode. You're talking about the back and forth, obviously. She's like, well, I could just have you killed. Like, you're here, like, just do this for me. It's like, no, I can't be bought. So I love that too. And I thought it was really cool because, a lot of people were complaining about the timeline, but then we get to spend more time with these characters that we thought were dead in the first episode, right? So that was really cool, and because I really enjoyed those short stories in the books, and like characters like Crack-On Crate and Iced, especially the Skelligan men, are absolutely hilarious. So I particularly enjoyed that as well. JR, what's another thing that we got a donation from San Rixian asking, can we have a toss your coin to your Witcher's sing-off after?
The answer is no.
The answer is yes. Me and Aziz did it last week. It'll be 10 seconds each, and we will do it in half an hour, San Rixian. If everybody sticks around, we will do some singing. How about that?
Sorry, Carl. I've got to jump off in 29 minutes. I didn't mention that earlier.
Well, I was just going to forego the formalities and go ahead and admit that Kyle's a far better singer than I could ever hope to be.
How about this? Yeah. I will sing for all of us. Toss a coin to your YouTuber, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your YouTubers, oh valley of plenty. Ooh. There you go, San Rixian. Oh shit, we lost 2 viewers. Thank you.
If I would have sang, we would have lost them all. So you're still ahead.
I don't think any of us could top that, Kyle. I think that is the moment that will stay with us for quite a long time.
So San Rixian is, thank you for the donation. We've already got like $100 in donations for the stream today. So thank you so much, everyone. Unsubscribe.
I've been propagating the private chat and StreamYard with questions that come up. Marvin Martinson's there, Kyle, if you want to check it.
Okay, cool. In StreamYard, the private chat?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Like we used to do in Hangouts.
Yeah. So, okay, well, let's go to this question. Marvin Morton said, it just has a comment. I said that it was about time after thousands of years of movies and myth, they saved the monster Striga instead of killing it. I say about time. Yeah, that's a thing too. Like, that's what makes the fight so interesting with the Striga. He's trying not to kill the Striga, right? Like, he's trying to lift this curse, and that's what makes the battle so difficult, because like you see the battle with the Kikimora, like he's hunting it, like it's a battle to the death, like either Geralt's gonna die or the monster's gonna die. And that's part of what, like he even says to Foltest, like, there's a chance I have to kill her, you know what I mean? Like, and we see the Striga kick Geralt's ass, so he almost dies. And in the books, we're going to do this in the book club. He gets like he almost bleeds out of his neck. They didn't show it as much in the show, but like he was super like this close to dying. So yeah,
they got him stable enough that they could get him outside of town to Neneki.
It's a Temple of Melitele, which I kind of wanted to see, but regardless, it was a cool way to kind of get Triss into the story. We have another donation from anime lover Nicole. If you have a question, thank you so much. Shelby Runyon from the Witcher Addicts, who was kind enough to invite me to the group, and which we're streaming on right now. Thank you so much for the donation. But yeah, JR, what was another thing that stood out for you in The Witcher Season 1? Because like a lot of the criticism that's been happening is like, this is the first big fantasy show after Game of Thrones, right? And people were like, oh, okay, I automatically knew that people were going to compare it to Game of Thrones because of the scope of fantasy, right? But it does have it does have a lot of differences. So what was one of the things?
A lot of differences. The only thing in common is titling that it is inside of the fantasy genre, because it's completely told from a different perspective. It's a story that's told way differently than like Game of Thrones is. And I think a lot of people misunderstood when some of us said, and I think all of us have probably said this, Robert and Kyle and myself, that it's going to be the next Game of Thrones. And we don't mean that it's going to be a carbon copy of Game of Thrones. What we're talking about is it's going to be the next high fantasy that does really well. That's really what, at least for me, that's what I meant. I didn't mean it was going to be a carbon copy of Game of Thrones. I said this one has the potential to be the next Game of Thrones. This is going to be the next Game of Thrones if they do it right. And I still think that.
Well, look at what happened. Like, I was looking at Google Trends. Actually, me and Robert were, and The Mandalorian, just like people. Robert, cheers. Cheers, everyone in the chat, by the way. Happy Friday. I'm just drinking some coffee. I think Robert's having a beverage. But just looking at trends, look at what The Mandalorian did.
Just water.
Yeah, right.
He's turning water into wine. Let's not get into what that means.
The Mandalorian broke records for as far as TV shows, like across 8 weeks. And then The Witcher did that in like 4 days, which is crazy. So like it was, as far as downloadable content and watch, like people are always wanting to see new stories. I think, most of us would have wanted the last Game of Thrones. When I'm not going to bring it up, try to bring it up too much. The last season.
I got a point to make on that. Just as TV and consumption of media as a whole. Do you think now it's come to the point where Netflix is doing themselves a disservice by releasing all the episodes at once and binging it and forgetting about it? Well, is that going to become a detriment to them at some point?
Well, let's actually talk about this topic. I'll pass this right back on to Robert. Me and Aziz talked about this last week about how we thought we could benefit from it, because this is the kind of show like Game of Thrones where you can have content creators like ourselves talk about it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and hype it up. Because what happened on YouTube during Game of Thrones Season 8, it broke records for the amount of people that were searching for content, wanting to chat about the show. And that's kind of what happened with The Mandalorian, right?
Yep.
Like people were talking about it on YouTube, and all these YouTubers were hyping it up and tossing it out on Twitter and retweeting all this stuff. And that's what made it so exciting. What's going to happen with Baby Yoda next? Or
Baby Yoda broke the internet.
Yeah. But I think The Witcher is the kind of show that definitely could benefit from it, because like you could have people like me or Robert or you doing like a lore video on Monday and just talking about a specific point. And then you would have to wait until the next week to talk about these bigger overarching themes that you might not have absorbed as strongly as you would, to say if you were watching one episode a week. Most people probably watched it in one day. I know I did. I've rewatched it several times, but I think you have a great point. And chat, give us your opinion. Do you think The Witcher would benefit from being stretched out to a weekly style of release? Now, it's obvious that it had huge success regardless, and I don't think they're going to change it because that's Netflix's model. But Robert, what do you think? Like, there is an argument for both, right? Like that it would be successful for both. But this is the kind of show that I do think that would benefit from the weekly style of release.
Yeah, and I'm going to be cynical here and say, yes, The Witcher would definitely benefit from going weekly, but Netflix benefit from it being binge. We look at it as thinking we just watch certain things on Netflix, but as far as Netflix are concerned, they are trying to maximize the amount of views on Netflix, not the amount of views on The Witcher. That's what they're about. And what you'll find is that when you go onto Netflix, the thing they were promoting for 1 week was The Witcher. Then they moved on to something else, and they were pushing something else, and they were getting big views on something else. Netflix will maximize the amount of views for Netflix, not for any individual Netflix show. So that's what's going on here. I hope that places like Amazon will do it slightly differently. HBO obviously benefit because they haven't got as many shows as Netflix. Netflix produce a new show every couple of days. That's not the same for places like HBO or
Disney Plus.
Amazon or Disney. They don't. They produce a new show every week or so. So Netflix are just churning out huge amounts of content and wanting us to watch a new thing all the time. That's their business model, and they're maximizing their business model. So yes, I agree. I would personally love them to go weekly. And I think it would be good for The Witcher to go weekly, but I think it's best for Netflix, who make the decisions ultimately, to do it as a binge.
We got another donation from John Haymaker. 4 marks for Kyle. Thank you so much for tossing some coins to the YouTubers. And by the way, we got another donation from Marvin Martin. Thank you. I will share this with JR and Robert. I believe all of us are going to Con of Thrones, so I'll see all you guys there, and we'll share this all together. But yeah, there's an argument for both, and it's split in chat. There's people saying like, hey, like from the outside, I love binging a show in a whole day. I'm the same way. Like when Game of Thrones, when I watched Game of Thrones season 1, I binged it all in one day. When Game of Thrones season 2 come out, I was like, oh man, I have to wait for this next episode. But it was like this good pain, you know. I was like, yes, oh, I could wait till and that hype got me through. It's like, oh, okay, I could just talk about it with my friends like you guys every week and be like, oh, okay, this is kind of the thing that I could get hype over the course of the week. But there's great arguments for both. And I'm going to go back and highlight some comments from chat. Shelby Runyon says, I definitely wish we could have had The Witcher 1 episode weekly. Channels and groups could use the discussions. Certainly. That's very true. People are, comparing other shows in the chat. And John Webster says, I take my time binging shows anyways, so it works fine for me. I can't imagine watching the whole show in 1 or 2 days. I need to stretch it out. I know some people that did that with The Expanse. Kay Pertinsky says, I watched it all in like 3 days and still forgot most of what happens. Goldfish brain hashtag. So yeah, there's a great variety. And I don't think there's a wrong answer really, because I think either way, there's great content, there's great actresses, there's a great story, and I think it's going to be successful no matter what. It's already been greenlit for 3 seasons, 2 more seasons at least. I think they're going to get the full 7 seasons. I think it's only going to get better. I mean, look at what happened with The Last Wish. They had to order 50 million more books or 5 million more books or something like that. It's just insane.
6 seasons, surely.
Yeah, I think it'll be 6 or 7 seasons. Sorry. They ordered, I think it was 500,000 more books Orbit had to order just for like Amazon and stuff like that because it's sold out. So there you go. People are interested, and people are going to learn more too. It's only the first season, right? Like people are going to get into the books and the games, and the people are going to become huge super fans, and they're going to absorb as much content as they can.
And the off season is going to drive more reading. Because in that aspect, it will be like Game of Thrones because it does have such a rich source material that it's really enjoyable to read.
So this is an interesting question, Marvin Martin, and I know the answer to the question. He says, did the Queen sabotage Dooney's boat for spite? Was Renfrey... so first of all, I don't want to comment on this one because there is...
it comes up later.
It comes up later, and it's a big thing. Okay? So that question, I cannot... ruining for everyone who has not read the books or in the show. But for those of you in the show, they Queen Calantha's daughter, Pavetta, and Dooney died in a shipwreck. And there's more that comes out about that. And I'm not going to elaborate on that because it definitely there's more to that. But there's more to the question. Was Renfrey a monster or just mad? Let's talk about this. Renfrey. The lesser evil is a huge thing. This is actually a huge plot point that goes all the way until the last book. And this is something that I think that we can discuss right now. Was Renfrey a monster, or was she just mad about being hunted? What are your thoughts on it, Robert?
Both. I mean, I think that it's not... So the Witcher books tend to be more like objective in their truth, but in this one, it's very much along the lines of George R.R. Martin. Is that she is clearly magical, Renfrey. There's no doubt about that. There is she comes out with prophecy. There's a lot going on there, but at the same time, yeah, she's annoyed because someone's trying to kill her. I'd be annoyed if someone was trying to kill me. There's a lot going on there. So the point about that episode and the whole storyline there is a question, as is the question with Yennefer and Geralt with the as you've magicked me, does that mean that my feelings for you aren't true? With Renfrey is that if she's innately magical and therefore potentially corrupting, does that mean that she is necessarily evil, or is it the people who are trying to kill her that has driven her to that?
Nature versus nurture. argument.
Yes, or nurture is swap nurture / magic. Yeah. Nature versus nurture / magic, I think, is where we're going with that. And that is very much a theme that is running through the show, or they've started in the show and does run through the books.
Geralt made his choice. He chose, like, Renfrey was going, like, people were going to get killed if she was going to continue with what she did in the market. So Geralt had to make a choice to, because the Stregobor, like her and Stregobor, they were going to fight, and there was going to be collateral damage, right? So Geralt, and trust me, I'm not a Stregobor fan, but Geralt had to make a decision right then and there.
Who's not a Stregobor fan?
Come on. Get out of here! I'll kick you off the stream. But
if you had magic, you'd do just the same. Kyle, admit it.
JR, let's talk about this lesser evil, because this is a huge thread that goes all through the books and the games all the way until the end.
It is, and it very much does. And it still goes back to, and that's one of the most quotable quotes from the books, in my opinions. If it comes to the choice of a lesser evil, my option is to make no choice at all, and let everything else handle it. And I love that line. I realize I'm paraphrasing, but it does come through everything. And this is kind of the first instance in the books and kind of in the show that maybe Geralt kind of marches to his own code, and that it's not some higher code of the Witcher's Guild or the Wolf's Guild. So I think it's really interesting.
Well, it's really interesting. We got to talk about the idea of inaction and what inaction does. If we were to not rise up against tyrants, for example, say like Hitler, and just let him do what he does, then there would be a big problem, right? Like,
yeah,
and yeah.
For a certain segment of the population, there would be a huge problem. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry,
I think that the thing that the show were trying to do with this was to show Geralt's character arc through season 1, when he starts off being very much, I'm on my own, I do this my way, I do not have to pick sides. This is where they chose the stories they showed in specific order. They weren't not exactly the same order that they were in the books, because they wanted to show him moving from this position of being a complete loner who didn't want to ever choose sides to a position when he realized sometimes, you know what, you have to pick sides, and it's actually better working as part of a team. So that was his character arc, and they deliberately put things in the way and emphasized things in the way that they did in order to show us that character arc.
Now they're like, I'm going to use Game of Thrones here again, because with George R. R. Martin, he puts a clear limit on what kind of power magic has in the story. In the Witcher world, it is much more amplified and dangerous. We see chaos. Like I'm going to go back to Yennefer's decision again. Her decision for what she did, the enchantment thing, even though she attained her power, it still caused a chain reaction for Fringilla to be, the Nilfgaardian's court mage, which ended up, and she's spiteful. Now she's doing evil things for Nilfgaard. So it's like there's consequences for everything that you do, and if you can't ignore destiny, which is like what Geralt is trying to do. He's like, I don't believe in destiny, but it's much deeper than that, right? Like everything has consequences, whether you act or whether you don't act or you do act. There's going to be a consequence no matter what. So we have another donation. My God, Maura. 2 more donations. Tossing coins to my 3 favorite YouTubers towards drinks at Con of Thrones 2020. Thank you, Maura Lee. And Carrie Harrison, $10 shout out to Amanda the Fearless Mermaid for all her hard moderator work today. So thank you very much. All our moderators in the chat. I think I see Chrissy of Oldstone in there. I see a lot of wrenches. Carrie Harrison, Maura Lee, of course, is a mod. Super awesome mods in the channel. And we keep it clean here on the channel. I haven't seen anybody being a dink today. So that's really awesome. Thank you for everyone for not being a dink. I really appreciate that. Robert's just like, I can't believe I'm on this guy's stream right now.
No. I mean, it's a low bar not being a dick, but I approve of it. This is good.
So let's take some questions from chat. Let's keep this going. I'm really enjoying the questions that everybody is asking. Let's go and feel free to post your questions, everyone. I see some people in the Witcher Addicts watching, people in GeekChat1, which is JR's Facebook group. So yeah, feel free to post questions and kind of like direct our conversation. That's kind of what we want to do today, and that's what people
choose your own adventure.
Yeah, choose your own adventure.
Weary traveler. I just threw that in for Robert.
So okay, let me actually.
Appreciated.
I'll ask a question to everyone here. Who is your favorite character, minor, major? Who is the person that you enjoyed watching in the season, Witcher 1 the most? And chat, let us know who your favorite is.
Okay, JL.
Favorite character? Or favorite story that involved new characters that you get introduced to?
Yeah, just in general, what was something that you really connected with, like a character and storyline in season 1?
The rare species episode.
Yeah, see that's a great short story from the Sword of Destiny.
Yep, sword.
And so you enjoyed that one. Has a very Lord of the Ringsy vibe.
It does have a very Lord of the Ringsy vibe, but there's so much going on in it, and the dialogue that's in there between the different factions, as it were, as they start up the hill. It's a great one for the books. They did really well with it, I thought, adapting it to the series. It actually served a purpose, but I still didn't get Nivellen, so there's that.
History of Westeros in chat, that's his favorite as well. Aziz, nice to see you in the chat. Yeah,
he has good taste. What can I say? How's it going, Aziz?
Robert, what about you?
Yeah, I thought that was a fantastic episode. And it kind of underlined one of these kind of themes that come out when you're reading the books, this idea that, yes, we've got this monster hunter, but not all of the monsters are actually monsters. And some of the monsters are humans, and actually it's not quite as simple as you first thought it might be. So, yeah, I love that, absolutely. In terms of my favorite character, I mean, I kind of struggled with this because the characters I liked the most were people like, I liked Renfrey. I thought she was a fantastic character as long as she lasted. I liked Mousesack, who was a fantastic character as long as he lasted. Basically, what I'm saying is all my favorite characters died.
You are a Game of Thrones fan. Look at that.
Yeah. So
history's repeating itself right now.
Some new characters. The three main characters all did really good, solid jobs. I'm not taking anything away from them, but it was the kind of the supporting characters. Queen Calanthe was great as well. There were a lot of really good characters who just didn't make it past season 1. So I'm hoping season 2 introduces a whole new range of great supporting characters too.
Yaskier is the big one in chat. Overwhelming. People love.
Yeah, the chat's wrong though, so you know.
Oh my God, chat! Are you gonna let Robert do this to our plucky bard Yaskier? That's just rude. Caterson says, yeah, the queen was a boss, Queen Calanthe. Oh, that's a good song too. Amanda the Fearless Mermaid says, toss a coin to your Patreon. That's funny too. See, you can do that song for anything. What anything. A cat. You know what I'm wondering too is for next season, I wonder if there's going to be a complete, like, there's just going to be a new song for every season. You know what I mean? Just like a new catchy song. Like, because that song is like, it's been, all the classical guitarists. I went and watched like 15 different covers and they're all fantastic.
One thing I hope that they do with the music, going back to music again, because it was really, parts of it were really bad. If you're going to keep it with period, stay with period. Do the strings, and I'm fine with that. When you start adding in bass and rock and electric guitar, I've got some issues.
Yeah. Yeah, no, one thing that I really love about The Witcher 3 is the soundtrack. Like, just when you're like on your, like, you're on
the Wild Hunt, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're on Skellige, and there's this awesome Nordic music and this medieval guitar and all sorts of instruments that you never would know how to play and hear, that you would not normally hear in regular.
Nor how to pronounce.
Nor how to pronounce either. That's correct. That will not be happening today. So yeah, this just overall. Yaskier is Yennefer Okay, Yennefer is a big one too, obviously. A lot, and it's funny because people were like, "Oh, she's not pretty enough before the season. Oh, she's not well known enough," and that, like, she just absolutely crushed the role of Yennefer. In fact, I think she may have given the best performance out of any actress in all season 1. She was fantastic. Oh, we got In Deep Geek participating in the chat there. Very nice of you, Robert.
Well, if you're not going to ask me questions, I'll just talk to the chat, Kyle. What am I going to
say? So yeah, what did you think about the origin story of Yennefer, for example? Like she has a very interesting story. She acquires quite a bit of power. She becomes one of the most powerful mage, if not the most powerful mage in the continent. Robert? I asked him a question and he's not listening. Oh my God, rude.
I'm reading the chat. I'm not used to it. Okay, yeah. So her origin story. I mean, I struggle with it on one level. On many levels, but in terms of she as an actress and as Yennefer, as she develops, I think that is absolutely fantastic. What I think they've worked really well with is this idea that for her, magic is not just this kind of set of rules. It's actually about her whole being and her emotions and her life. And that is what worked really well. And so at the end of the season, we get the end of the struggle, and her mentor finally says, you know what, be you. Do your thing. You know how to channel magic. You can do the chaos thing, and then we see the and all the sort of the fiery hands and all the rest of it. And that is the scary time, because through that battle there were so many mages involved, and yet it took Yennefer doing her thing to actually sort of bring an end to all of this. It shows when you're saying Yennefer is perhaps the most powerful mage. Yeah, there is a huge amount of power there that is untapped, and that is what makes her so intriguing, because it's not about her learning these kind of tricks of how you do magic and learning spells and having pentagrams and all the rest of it. It's about pure magical energy, which comes from her elven blood as much as anything else.
Hell yeah. There's we got another donation from the Laughing Storm, who actually has his own YouTube channel. He just started, so show him some love and subscribe to his channel. Says, do you think they'll age up Jaskier and give him his hat? They actually talked about the whole hat thing. If you want to go watch the interview, Laughing Storm, there is an interview with Lauren Histrick, and she talks about that. So
and I think Costume Co. just did a video on that where she went through all of the set and production pictures and original designs for characters and stuff. So she did a breakdown of all the costuming, I believe.
And it's fantastic. Like, that's another great part of the show. We were spoiled with Game of Thrones with the costumes and the set design and all that kind of stuff. We're also getting that with The Witcher. That is something that they are really focusing on, and there's so much work that goes into that, and those people don't get a lot of love. We're always focused on the actors and actresses and, of course, the producers. So that's something that definitely I thought was another strong point of the season. Marvin Martin, I'm going to ask this one to you, JR. Didn't read the book, so how do the humans take over and kill off magic-powered elves? And who wouldn't want Sonic the Hedgehog as a son-in-law? So you know about the history of the elves. So tell them a little bit about how the elves.
That's going to get spoilery, though, because of what's happened. I mean, we get a little bit of it when we go to Edge of the World. And so we see and understand a little bit that there was a battle between humans and the elves, and that there was some kind of dispute going on with that. The part that I really missed, and I don't know if you guys did, but I really missed having the elf goddess in the village. I really wanted to see that exchange with her and Geralt. That would have been awesome. I can't believe they didn't do it.
Because she was a huge part of why Philavandrel and his people back off.
Exactly. Massive part of why they did, but then they also understood that Geralt was not just a witcher, but somebody who understood
Yeah, the Edge of the World, like the Edge of the World short story is so fantastic. I love
a great one.
Torque is one of the funniest characters.
Torque is fantastic.
Yeah,
and it's stuck between both worlds. It's great.
They had to put it in the episode with Yennefer's origin story, which that was one of my critiques. Like that was one of the short stories I didn't like the adaptation of. Like we just didn't get it. Like it was just so short. They cut basically 90% of it.
No, and Torque needed a little help special effects wise, and I mean practical effects, not like CGI'd in there, but you know, some better practical effect work on Torque would have been really nice. I was expecting like Pan's Labyrinth, and I got the Labyrinth. So
Marvin Martin, think of what happened with the first men of the Children of the Forest. It's very similar to that. Men have their own continent. They come over, they screw things up. Elves taught them magic, and then they become too powerful, and they basically push all of the elder races and the other races of the continent to the edge of the world, basically. And that's really what happened.
And it's kind of the same theme that you always see in fantasy. Well, not always see in fantasy, but kind of a common theme is that because of human lifespan, they only have a short view of everything and don't look at the long-term consequences, whereas elves live for thousands of years. And so they take a long view on everything and are slow to act for anything. And that's why humans do what they do. And anyway, it's very much the same way.
Yeah. For example, Stregobor is like 700 years old. Like he's like super old. Like mages live for a super long time. They learn magic. Magic keeps them alive unnaturally. Just similar with elves. Elves live longer, but you know, obviously they have and I think more of that will be fleshed out. We got a lot of the anti-elven attitudes. You know, obviously when Ciri is in the camp and she learns from Dare, like, hey, like your grandmother wasn't that good of a person. Like her men slaughtered my whole village. And then we see the guy with the elf ears and all that kind of stuff. That is explored all the way throughout the books. That it just like the world keeps on getting expanded on, and it will continue with each season that follows.
Sure. And this is this is one of the things when they're doing adapting books to the show. This is one of the things that, yes, they lose things from the books, but what they're trying to do on the show is with season one, that the timeline differences were not just to confuse us. The timeline differences were to try and show us the links between the different stories. And in that episode, this was about the elves. So they showed Ciri meets Dara and finds out, oh, he's an elf. And then you get, in a different timeline, you get Geralt meets the elves. And then you get Yennefer who goes, actually, you know what? I'm magical because I'm a quarter elf. And so you get this line running through them. And when you look at the different episodes, what they're trying to do is not just randomly put different stories next to each other. They're trying to show the echoes between the three main characters' stories so that when at the end everything comes together, we see actually that it's not just coincidence. There's things that have been drawing them together through time.
Yeah, that's one of the fantastic things about The Witcher that I really love. They're all connected, and there's this. And by the end of the book, you see why. You see why everything happens. Everything happens for a reason. I don't want to spoil anything, obviously, but it's just the last book is my favorite. It only gets better with each book, in my opinion. So, yeah, take that for what you will if you want to get into the books. So yeah, let's get to some more questions. That was a great answer, Robert and JR. Thank you for that. Don't forget to like this video, says Regan. Thank you very much for that. If you're enjoying this content, of course, thank you very much for coming to watch us. Like I said, you can find the links for JR's channel, GeekChat1, and his Facebook group in the description of this video, and also Robert's YouTube channel. Also, The Witcher Addicts, which is a great Facebook group. Shelby's in the chat. You can find the link to their Facebook page. Great community. If you want to chat about The Witcher, you can find that in the description of this video too. So yeah, Robert, you did your first, and I'm going to be, by the way, doing a book club. JR was part of that. He's kind of passing the torch a little bit to me. He's busy for the next little bit, so I'll be starting that. But Robert, you've done some Witcher. You did your first Witcher video last week.
I did a Witcher breakdown. I said I wasn't going to do any, and I kind of broke that promise. But I did a Witcher video last week. which was my season overview, and I've just finished doing another one, which is called What is a Witcher? I think that there's a lot of people who perhaps haven't played the games, haven't read the books, who just go, okay, I kind of vaguely understand what a Witcher actually is, but what's the lore? What skills and talents do they have? How human are they? What's going on there? So that's coming out hopefully tomorrow. And I'm going to see how it goes. If people are interested in Witcher, then I will carry on doing Witcher videos.
Chat, we want to see more Robert Witcher videos, so keep on harassing him. So like I said, let's get to some more comments and questions. Shamanka says, I love you. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jared.
Danny McKay just popped out as soon as we started talking about the books and immediately called us all book wankers.
Stacy Meyer said,
it's fair.
It is fair. Stacy Meyer says, oh, there are definitely some good humans, basically all small folk, which I love in the show. Something that was lacking in Game of Thrones. Let's see some more comments in here. Oh God, there's some really funny ones.
The Maester of Coffee just showed up.
Oh, Rick Hoppy's in the chat. Is he there?
Yeah, he's there. Grand Maester of Coffee himself.
There I see. It says, hi, guys. Just got here. Everyone, let's show some love to Rick Hoppy in the chat. We got Mandolin in the chat. Nice to see you, Mandolin. We got
Mandy popped in.
He's been here for about an hour, Kyle.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I haven't shouted everyone out. I like to shout everyone out. Stop giving me a hard time, Robert. Rude.
Why not? You give me a hard time.
It's true.
It's true.
John Webster says, at Azora Hype, no question, but thank you for turning me on to the show. I might not have given it a chance if not for you. It's given me so much enjoyment. Well, John, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Favorite main series character without spoilers. Mine's Regis. Ooh, damn. Yeah, he's great. Don't want to spoil too much. Regis is a vampire. He's great. There's so many. I like Cohen the Witcher. There's Ciri. Ciri is amazing. She's really the main character.
All my favorites are dead.
Yeah, there's so many. There's so many. I don't want to say too much. Like Ciri is one of my favorites, if not my favorite. I say that about all the characters I like, though. So don't trust me on that, Robert.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically with JR that all my favorites are dead, but let's go with I love Vesemir. Yeah. I love video game Triss. That's probably too specific. Mousesack, I think, is fantastic. There's a lot of really good characters out there. I think for me, the glory of the characters is it's not the main characters that I love. Clearly, Ciri's a fantastic character. Geralt himself is a good character. Yennefer, yes, but it's the supporting characters who are there. I think it's a deliberate decision on behalf of the writer to make particularly Geralt quite a blank canvas that we can put ourselves into, which makes it a really good video game, because that allows us to inhabit that character. But it means that the characters that we meet through him are the ones that really shine.
By the way, praying for Mark Hamill as Vesemir. Like, just crossing my fingers for that, because
that would be so awesome.
I would literally cry if he was Vesemir.
I saw a couple of things pop up on Twitter talking about that the other day too. I was like, oh, that would be
someone
amazing.
Someone gave him a description of like characteristics of Vesemir. He's like, well, that sounds like someone that's me and that I should play him. Like, he was just like, yeah.
That's all he has to say now. I have spoken. Yeah, like, he'll get he will be it. I mean, it's just a matter of a question of price at this point, right?
Yeah, I think that if he got that role, my God, that would be
so
huge.
My hands down favorite character, and I think it's absolutely inarguable that this is the star of the book altogether, and that is Roach.
Well, you can argue that he's one of the MVPs of the game. Like, he's just like, he'll be floating in the air. He'll be on top of a house. Sorry. I always forget that. Like, she, on top of a friggin' house, like, and then there's a glitch where, like, she doesn't come down. You know what I mean? Like, Roach, I need to ride you to the next castle.
There's the clip that I loved the most, which I'm sure that they were expecting to be a blooper, but wasn't, was when Geralt is talking to Roach, and then Roach just kind of headbutts him, and he just carries on going with it. I thought that was fantastic. I can't remember which episode it was in, but it just worked really well.
Don't judge me. And that was in that there's 2 times where it happens. He's in bed with the courtesan in the wintry kingdom of Temeria. And then he goes outside and then he says, Roach, don't judge me. But this is before after he meets up with Yennefer again. It's in the rare species episode. So yeah. We got lots of we got 84 viewers. Cool. Who else do we got in here? Smash the like button. Everybody's saying, okay, everybody's in agreement with Mark Hamill as Vesemir in chat. We should probably
be writing Netflix if we really want to make that happen.
Oh my God, Chrissy, you think we'll see the stuffed unicorn from the games? I certainly hope so. For anybody that knows what the stuffed unicorn is, I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's sexy. That's all I can really say. The stuffed unicorn. Yeah, unsung hero Roach.
See, I got a lot of conversations started with saying it was Roach.
Did you think 8 episodes was enough for the first season? Like that was appropriate? Like 10 episodes? You think they can do 10? Because the episodes were long. They were all like an hour, which is great.
I think if they stick with the 8, I'm good.
Yeah, you're good with the 8?
Mm-hmm.
I want them to do as many as make sense. I think the beauty of modern television is that they don't have to try and squeeze things into a set number of episodes or a set period of time per episode. I think that is the I love the fact that some episodes of The Witcher were, I don't know, nearly an hour and a half, and some of them were 3/4 of an hour. But it was the length that episode required, rather than saying you need to do exactly 58 minutes in order to fit all of our adverts in.
Yeah, that's
right. Non-standard.
Yeah, no commercials is fantastic too.
That's a huge benefit, and I completely agree with Robert that it allows them to tell the story that they need to tell for that episode, whether it's 45 minutes or it's an hour and a half. Because I just got so sick of some of these shows on TV. The prime example would be like Arrow. 23 episodes a season. Do you know what that takes to shoot and produce and everything else? Like, why don't you lower the number down to half that and produce some really high quality episodes, and it'll be just fine. Because, you know, that Arrow backed into like 3 or 4 other shows as well. It's what started them. And so they all kind of work in unison. It's all a shared universe. It was really hard to get through all of those seasons because they are so long.
Well, it's interesting too. You bring up the style of the episode that they have. Like Supernatural, for example, has the same. They have like 23 episodes. It's finishing now. They have those Monster of the Week. Robert will be back in just a moment, by the way, everyone. You have the Monster of the Week style of episodes, which are great. Like we had some of that in the first 3 episodes of The Witcher.
Kikimora.
The Kikimora, obviously, what happened in Temeria with the Betrayer Moon, all of that, and then we got more towards the end of the season where we start to see things converge, right? Like those little. That's what part makes The Witcher great. There's like smaller little stories that connect to the overarching bigger plot, right? And more, we'll see more of that.
What did you guys think of the handling of the Black Knight?
Okay, here.
Did you hear that?
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, I said, what did you guys think of the handling of the Black Knight?
You mean Kay here?
Yeah. I thought you said, can you hear? I'm like, what?
No, Kay here.
Kay here. Yes. Yeah. What did you think of the handling of that? Do you think there were some missteps?
Well, I don't want to say too much because it's a spoiler if I say too much. What do you think, Robert? What did you think of the adaptation of Kay here into the show?
I have no thoughts. Sorry, I will throw that one back to JR to tell me what I should think.
I just felt like they didn't give him the lure behind it. Like he wasn't scary enough. It wasn't imposing enough that you know, and that's kind of what it leads into, that he's him. but the overarching fear that Ciri has for him and running from him, and that he keeps coming up and he keeps showing up in places that he shouldn't be, and he's always on the footsteps. Like the build for that for me just really wasn't there. The ominous, I guess.
I agree and disagree, because they painted him more black as opposed to more of a grayish character. You know, we saw the kind of the black and white in the beginning of, you know, Cintra and Nilfgaard, and then we saw the more, you know, the graying of the characters over the season as the season progressed. But I think that we're going to see. I think we're going to see more of him in season 2, certainly, because, like I said, we're going to see more characters together, right? We're going to see our main POV characters, the good guys, together, and then we're going to kind of see the other side. So I think that we're going to see more of that explored, like his personality explored and why he does what he does in season 2. And that's kind of the thing too, because there isn't as much of like the Broken Law and Forest story, for example, JR, like all that was pretty much cut. And I don't want to spoil too much, because a certain main character is in Broken Law and Forest when Ciri is there, and that doesn't happen. And a lot of people were, you know, talking about that. But I understand why they did the things they did.
No, I do too, but that was just one of those ones. It's Novellan for me. I'm just a little disappointed that it wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be. That's all. I mean, really, it's nitpicks, right? I mean, we're really not complaining about anything. We love it. We all admitted we love it, but we're just talking about nitpicks of it. And I still want Novellan.
There's some other awesome comments in chat. ACDC Barca, I think, or Barca, needed more episodes so that every character could breathe more, but I understand the first season needed to be focused more on the 3 leads. Definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Shelby Runyon says, question, if season 1 did not have these confusing timelines, what kind of timelines would they have had? Well, Lauren Histrick, the showrunner, said we wouldn't have had any Ciri in season 1 at all, or just like an appearance towards the end if we did, because like the way the books are structured, if you go read The Last Wish in the Sword of Destiny, it would have been mainly just Geralt, right? And then because like Yennefer shows up later, and then Ciri shows up much later in the Sword of Destiny, without spoiling too much. Basically right towards the end, right? So I think that's kind of what she talked about, and she wanted to, instead of having Geralt as just the main POV, she wanted to flesh out the 3 stories, and that's why the timelines were a bit confusing. Oh, what's going on? Something funny going on in chat.
Yeah, Robert's running the chat now.
Your turn, Robert.
Sorry, I've lost track on what we're talking about. I like The Witcher. Do you?
No, I love The Witcher. It's great.
No, we were just Shelby talked about the timelines and why they made certain creative choices the way they did. Like like Ciri needed that to be one of the primary focuses in what happened to her in season 1.
Yes, and she's also, so they shifted around a few of the timelines with Ciri. They wanted her to be sort of 16-ish or a little bit older. Some of the stuff should have happened a little bit earlier in her timeline when she was a bit younger, but they wanted her obviously to be a bit older. I'm okay with that. I've already talked about the fact that when they did the timelines, it's not to confuse us. They didn't do 3 different timelines just because they were wanting us to go, huh, what's happening here? It was because they wanted us to understand the theme of season 1. The theme being destiny will bring people together. So the last 2 lines of it are all about, you know, Geralt and Ciri are there hugging, and you know, Geralt says, I forget the exact line, but you know, destiny will always bring people together. And then she says, who is Yennefer?
Yeah.
Because it's like there's the 3 of them. It's not just the 2 of them, it's the 3 of them. So that is what the whole theme of season 1 was about, and that is what they were trying to do with the timelines, is not just confuse us, but to show us the links. And every single episode there is a link between what's going on. You see, I mean, when in the episode with the Striga, when the Striga is there and it's screaming away, and then you cut to Yennefer and she's screaming away, and you have the episode about the children and can she have children, and it's just every single time it comes back down to this idea about what is it that connects these 3 characters. so that at the end, when they come together, we understand that they are destined, not just magically destined to be together, but they are linked together on many, many levels.
I love that the point you brought up, especially the back and forth sequencing in Betrayer Moon. We see the theme of rebirth. We see the Striga is transformed into Princess Ada. The curse is lifted, and then we see Yennefer transformed, and they're both in the fetal position. So that was like really interesting back and forth. They both had to go through these painful transformations to essentially become reborn in that moment. So I love that.
One of the byproducts of the timelines that way, Reagan Slade points out, hey, Reagan, points out something very important is the timelines being that way made me pay closer attention. And that's something that producers are going to be banking on too, so that you are paying attention to it because these timelines aren't congruent.
There was a great question. ACDC Barca again. Do you guys think they will include more short stories next season? Maybe Geralt tells Ciri about his adventures on the way to Kaer Morhen. Yeah, that's the Kaer Morhen is going to be a thing. Well, hopefully we'll see Vesemir introduced. I think that will happen, or not. Maybe they'll save him for season 3. I don't know.
Are we writing there the entire time for season 2?
Yeah.
Is that what's going to happen? Are we going to take the long road?
Well, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I think we're going to see Shard of Ice for sure.
Okay.
Yennefer disappeared. And she has a relationship with Istrid. And I think they're going to play on that because we saw her go back to Istrid and they have a big connection. I don't want to spoil too much, but I think that we're going to see Shard of Ice, which is another short story. I think that's going to be adapted into season 2. And they did talk about having more short stories, but less because there's going to be more Blood of Elves. Like season 2.
Right, we got to push into there. I can see him using him in a flashback sort of thing where they need to introduce another character. Why do you know this guy? And then it tells the story of how they know them.
Yeah,
like one like Nivellen, for example. I'm not saying that he does come back or anything for people who don't know about him. But, how do you know this man or how do you know we're safe here? It's, well, because I know him. Or whatever the case may be. But something like that, I could see them using that for several of his short stories. And DC Wheaton III. Isn't Nivellen slotted for the first few episodes of season 2? I saw something about that on a Witcher subreddit. I have not read the subreddit, so I don't know or where the information's coming from. I can't say anything, but I'd be totally happy if it did.
Are you guys talking about me being geek sexy in chat? What's going on here? So there's some shenanigans going on in chat right now with Robert. Robert usually doesn't do this either. He's sneaky. Robert is being sneaky.
I'm not sneaky. Ask me a question, I'll talk to you. Till you do, I'm going to talk to the chat.
Yeah.
Well, the flashback teased the young Vesemir. If you go watch that again with Geralt, where he's hallucinating about his mother and all that kind of stuff. So go back and watch that scene because there's actually a lot. You know what's really cool? Like, I actually want to ask this to you, Robert. Have you watched just the season just once through, or have you went back and watched through episodes again? Because through my second and third watches, I watched it 3 times. I've noticed these little subtle, Easter eggs and clues and things that I missed on my first watch.
Yeah. So what I found is that because I now effectively do this for a living, this is how I pay the rent now. I watch things in a really weird way. I watched it all the way through, as everyone does, enjoyed it as a fan. As I said, I wasn't intending to cover this. I thought, you know what? Hey, this is a thing I will really like and I will enjoy it. Watched it as a fan.
Yeah.
At the end of it, I thought, maybe I'll make a video. And at that point, I then go back and what I tend to do, I didn't watch it all the way through from beginning to end again. I will at some point. But I watch bits of each episode lots of times. And so I've probably watched it 4 or 5 times in total, but there's probably some random little bits I've not seen again from the first time. So it's just like I don't watch the whole thing again. I watch certain parts of it again.
Let's actually ask chat this question. How many times have you watched season 1? Also, JR, question to you. I watch it I think 4 times through now. Like when I'm doing an episode review, like when I did my Banquets, Bastards, and Bears, I watched it like 4 or 5 times. And as I'm doing writing and stuff, and I'm just like watching a scene over again, dialogue, how I'm going to present like what I broke down from a specific scene for you guys, that kind of thing. I don't know. I watched each episode quite a few times. What about you, JR? And chat, let us know how many times you watched it.
I'm so distracted by chat. What am I offering, Robert? What did you get us? What did you get us involved in here, Robert?
Just say twice. That's all you need to do.
Oh my God, is chat just having? I keep on checking on chat, and there's like all these like little private conversations about my glasses. I just, you guys are hilarious, man.
How many times have you watched the season, JR?
How many times have I watched the season? Actually, just once. But I was taking my time and doing notes on it and other stuff too. So I didn't binge it. I watched it episodes and then made all my notes and then started it again.
That's great. For those of you that are here right now, I'm going to be starting my book club next week. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be, I haven't decided who I'm going to have for a special guest yet. I'm talking to a couple people, but there is going to be a special guest, and we're going to talk about the lesser evil. So we're not going to do it in chronological order, but we're going to talk about some of the short stories from the first 2 books that were adapted in the show. But I'm going to do the lesser evil.
That's not a book club.
Yeah. It is. Trust me. We're going to break down the lesser evil, but also talk about some of the creative choices they made in the first episode with Renfrey and Stregobor and all of that. So it's going to be really fun. It's going to be a fun book club with analysis, and we'll talk over and deconstruct things and stuff like that. So that's starting soon. It's a different version. It's not an exact, it's a book club, but it's a different version of a book club, Jared, because we're going to connect everything from the show to the books.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, well, it does. It's adapted from books, man. Oh my God, you guys are so distracted by the live chat. I love it.
I actually am, because I still have no idea what's going on. I don't know what Robert started. He put it into motion, though.
Yep. My bad.
So what are we looking for the next season? What do you have any must-haves for next season?
I want to see Karen Morton for sure. We'll see. I mean, it's because like Ciri and Geralt's relationship has a lot of growing pains, right? Like Geralt has never been a dad, and Ciri has known this life of comfort. Well, sort of. So it's going to be really interesting. Like their dynamic, that's what I'm really looking forward to, especially their relationship, because I think obviously the 3 characters, they all share a very strong relationship to each other, but Ciri and Geralt's relationship is a special one. So I'm really excited for that. And that's kind of a cop-out answer because that's like the main thing, but I really want to see that.
Yeah, but it's not a cop-out answer at the same time, though, because it is where the story's going. It's the important part of the story, and then there's other stuff that goes on, too, like we know, but always interesting. But I want to see Novellin. I don't care.
Yeah.
I know it's ridiculous, but I want that story.
Well, he was actually supposed to be in season 1, part of the short stories, but then they cut it. Robert, what about you?
Sorry, lost track again. What's the question? What do I want for season 2? Yeah. Season 2, I want Kaer Morhen. I want Ciri training. There's this, if you've ever played the game Witcher 3 and you get, at the beginning bit, you get Ciri training. I want some sort of cutscene about quite how awesome she is. That's all I really want from season 2. I want more of Triss. I think Dan is at the door. I might have to get him in a moment. I want more of Triss because Triss was not there. She was there in the background, but really I want more of that kind of like extra layer going on. So there are a lot of things I'd like in season 2, but it's basically expanding the universe.
Robert, do you have to take off and go for a dog walk? I understand if
I will in a moment. Let me just bunk out. I'll be back in 1 minute.
Yeah, no worries. Take your time. Me and JR got this. We're gonna go for a little bit longer. JR, you got about another 20 minutes in you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So, chat, we're gonna continue this going. Where I'm really, really loving the excitement for The Witcher, because it was really hard to make a decision on what kind of content to do on the channel ever since Game of Thrones ended, and now we're not gonna have House of Dragon until 2022. So. Yep. Witcher is going to be mean.
And I don't think they can get anything else produced for Game of Thrones under that umbrella before 2022 now. If that's the benchmark they're putting on House of Blood or House of Fire. I don't.
House of Dragons.
House of Dragons. Wait, I'm coming up with like every other title for it.
You were putting Blood
Fire
of Elves.
Blood.
You were talking about House Blood of Elves, Fire and Blood. You're going to get all into one.
Yeah, I'm all confused. Anyway, I don't think there's anything that they could probably produce HBO until after 2022. Now, if that's the year they're giving us.
And I also think we could benefit away from some time after the disastrous toxic fallout that happened. We're not going to get into that though.
Yeah, let's not.
Robert.
He said I'm out on that conversation.
Robert just he ejected himself from the stream after he's like, I'm not talking about this. Literally, I went through 25,000 negative comments. I'll just say that, and I will never go back to those again. Regan Slate says, "Oh my God, Kyla's Yaskier is what I need in my life." Everybody's still commenting on the glasses. I'm glad you think I'm cute. I really appreciate that. It's
about time you joined the club, Kyle.
Yeah, these actually protect.
You haven't taken them off once.
I'm not. In Deep Geek. Anyways. But yeah, no, it's been super fun. Like it happened so fast too. Like we only heard about The Witcher coming out like just a couple of years ago, and then bam, it's here, and it's like, damn, first season's already over. Time flies, doesn't it? So we're gonna take some more questions. We got another 20 minutes here. I don't know how Robert's gonna put up with me and JR for the next 20 minutes, but he's here to stay with his sexy glasses. So House of Mouse Sack, says History of Westeros. For those of you who were here last week, History of Westeros was our guest. You can also go subscribe to his channel. And yeah. Sanrixian says, at Caterson, JR as Geralt. Okay. Kyle as Yaskier and Robert as Yennefer. What?
Gemma is Triss. How do you put Gemma as Ciri? Can we make her Triss? She should be Triss, I think.
Yeah, Sanrixian, Gemma is a redhead. So I don't know.
Did you say that like she doesn't know?
History of Westeros says 3 white dudes with beards and glasses. Look at these goofballs. Signed a white dude with beard and glasses. It's true. Aziz is another one with beard and glasses. That's super funny. Robert, Sanrixian says you're Yennefer. Geralt is JR, and I am Mousak. Or Yaskier, sorry. And Gemma Ciri. I'm really confused on that because wouldn't Gemma be Triss?
Yes.
Robert is so shocked by the Yennefer comment. He is.
I mean, I'm slightly. I mean, I'll embrace it. Yeah. I mean, she's cool and sexy and powerful. I mean, all the things I aspire to. So yeah, let's go for it.
Cool and sexy and powerful. Those are the things that you aspire to. Interesting.
Holy crap. All of you are tossing so many coins to us today. I think we're over in $130 in donations today. Thank you so much. That helps out the channel immensely. Trust me. And by the way, shameless plug, you can join the channel by hitting that join button as well if you are interested in helping out. And so Maud Mary says, please tell us more about the elves in that tree. Yeah, so that's something that's going to be it's really interesting because Ciri there's this prophecy, and that's a bigger part of the whole story. Stregobor talked about it a little bit about how he was hunting down these girls that were the curse of the Black Sun that were born under this eclipse. That's an overarching theme that's explored a little bit more in the plot for sure. JR, did you want to take a stab at that?
No, because I'll end up in spoiler land.
Yeah, well, thank you for the donation, though, by the way. We just don't want to spoil too much, Maud Mary. Marvin Martin says, lesser evil, Game of Thrones Season 8 or Cats? Cats. Thank you. Cats is terrible. Oh, my God.
I'll make no choice at all.
I've not seen Cats, but I saw the trailer, and it's left me scarred. So let's go. Game of Thrones Season 8 had the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and let's just remember that
one of the best episodes ever.
Exactly, and then
absolutely.
Let's go with that one.
So lesser evil is Game of Thrones season 8. Cats is evil. Let's just say that. I will never watch the movie Cats. Okay, let's just put it that way. Well, actually, did I ask you guys this question? What your favorite episode was? Robert, you said episode 1, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of taken by the rare species episode as well. But I did really like episode 1. I have to say.
We did talk about. I remember talking about this. Now I just forgot. Jerry,
and I really, there wasn't one that I really hated. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoyed all of this. Even in Mandalorian, there was one episode where I was kind of like, this was supposed to be a really big episode, and it feels like a filler episode. It's just because all the other ones were so great.
Yeah.
And that was the prison break episode of Mandalorian. You guys kind of sit back and go, I don't know. It was really cool, but what the hell did I just watch?
All the special appearances, Bill Burr, Clancy, like how many great actors and actresses. They had Natalie Tanya from Game of Thrones in that episode. Like there was
Harry Potter. You had Bobby Munson from Sons of Anarchy. You had Clarence Brown, or is Clarence Brown?
Clancy Brown, yeah.
Clancy Brown. Yeah, and he's been in like everything. And it was supposed to be a really great episode, right? It was kind of just like, why are you here? But I didn't feel like there was a why were you here episode in Witcher at all. I thought it flowed really well.
A lot of people say Betrayer Moon. We did a poll and people say Betrayer Moon. But like all of them are really good. Right? And it's, you know what, honestly, the story only gets better, people. It's like when I finished the Witcher books and I finished the Witcher 3, especially the books, I felt the ending. I was so satisfied with the ending. It wasn't like what I felt with Game of Thrones season 8. I really do feel that the showrunner and Andrzej Sapkowski, they're really in sync and they really want to do this story justice. And I think they understand what they're doing. I really do, even though there's been tons of criticism on it. And I think one of the things too that's really amazing about it is that the showrunner has literally went into these Reddits that are trashing her, that are super toxic, and she's in there chatting with people like us, normal people, you know what I mean? And she's like, hey, like, tell me what I did wrong, tell me what we can improve. And that's a really rare thing for a showrunner of a big project like this to do. And I think
that's a ballsy move.
Ballsy move, and I think it's incredibly encouraging. Not to say that she's going to take these like blatantly spiteful criticisms, and but like she's at least listening. You know what I mean? But
that's almost like a talk to the director, right? Like, why did you make these choices? Well, the reason we had to make this choice is because if we did this, we'd have to do this and this, and there was no way we could do it, so we couldn't pay it off. Like they always have a rhyme and a reason for what they do.
Yeah. Morley has another question, Robert, and a donation. You want to read it out with your smexy voice?
I don't know if I have a smexy voice, but I will happily read it out. Maura, hi there, Maura. Good to see you. Compare and contrast the roles of magic users, wizards, elves, and dwarves, nature beings in The Witcher, the Song of Ice and Fire book series, and Lord of the Rings. And JR, this one is directed at you.
That's a lofty question.
What is it? I was in the chat.
That's in the chat. Sorry if I'm distracted. My dog is currently attacking things. JR, compare and contrast the roles of magic, wizards, elves, and dwarves in Witcher, Game of Thrones, and Lord of the Rings.
Well, it's different type and style. And so this is something that we had a conversation. Did we have this conversation in your channel, Robert?
We did.
We started talking about the effects of magic.
A similar question over there.
Yeah, interesting. So when you look at Lord of the Rings, we start in a world where it's what we'd call low fantasy. And it's because none of these magical things exist, so much so that it's the point of ridicule and ridiculous to even talk about or mention them without getting jib and jabs and making jokes about it, like snarks and grumpkins and all the other things that your wet nurse warned you about. And that's kind of where Game of Thrones started. And then we learn that there is magic, and it's a slow build into high fantasy. Whereas this like immerses you immediately into fantasy magic. It explains that for this magic, there is a cost, and it can be a heavy price depending on what you are doing. And that was the illustration between the flower and manifesting whatever it was in your hand, or levitating the rock.
Chaos.
Yeah, chaos, and that's how you control it. But there is a cost associated to it, and then you have into like Lord of the Rings style magic, which is a very, very old magic, and it's very much meant to be not intimidating, I suppose, and I don't mean intimidating to the reader, but it's very few people possess it unless you're of a certain lineage, like elves. Elves have the ability to read the Elder, which is also part of the magic, and they understand more about the magic because it's brought up from it's like an earth magic almost, forest magic. For those who play Magic the Gathering, I guess it would be similar in that way.
I was playing that earlier today.
Yeah, the cost of it is different between all of them, and they all start at a different place when you start into these texts. So it's always one of those things. And Stacy Meyer, yes, J.R. Tolkien's son did die at the age of 97, I believe. So very sad day for the end of the Tolkien line.
Yeah, Christopher Tolkien passed away yesterday. There's been some really great news about the Lord of the Rings TV show. Robert Aramayo, who played young Ned Stark, was cast. Nazanin Boniadi, I believe is her name. She's a fantastic actress. Robert, I know you're super excited about Lord of the Rings. That's another show that's going to be a great show fantasy-wise. Also, Wheel of Time just released that they're working on the episode 5 script. So
Robert Jordan.
Yeah. So there is similarities, but Witcher, like it's just there in the world, and it builds on it. Like as you get through the story, that it just amplifies and becomes larger and larger and larger, and you learn more about it. Robert, what's your thought? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, a toast to Christopher Tolkien first.
Cheers.
The man was a legend. It's he
in his own right.
I mean, he isn't just J.R.R. Tolkien's son.
No.
He's the man who edited the Silmarillion and pretty much every Tolkien book that you've seen published in the last 50 years. He was behind it. He was the holder and the steward of the Tolkien legacy, and so he will be greatly missed. His contribution was huge. Thank you, Christopher Tolkien. In terms of the TV show, so they've announced 15 names, 15 actors, none of which are just as headlines, none of which are huge Hollywood stars. A lot of them have been in things. A couple of them are almost straight out of acting school, but most of them have been in things, and like the guy who was Benjen Stark is there.
Joseph Mall.
Michaela Kavanagh, who was in Picnic at Hanging Rock. If you ever saw that, she's there. There's a lot of really good actors in there, but none of them are huge major movie stars, which I kind of like, because it shows that they're not expecting people to be coming to this simply because a big name is there. They're expecting people to be coming this because they've hired the right people. And also, incidentally, they've said this isn't the end. There are some main roles still to cast, which means that this is an ensemble piece. This is a large cast thing, like Game of Thrones, like the Lord of the Rings movies. This isn't just like one main character and a whole load of supporting people. This is like an ensemble thing that they're doing, which again I really appreciate. And finally on this one, what I love is the fact that we finally got here. This is over 2 years since they signed that contract, and things have been moving on very, very, very slowly. We got told that they had a 2-year window in which to start filming. They hadn't started filming in that 2-year window. I was starting to get worried, but now they've just announced these 15 actors. So things are moving forward. They're probably not going to start filming properly yet, but we're moving in the right direction. So yes, I'm very excited.
And interestingly, to connect to what Robert is saying, there's yet to be some announcements for some big roles. Each season of The Witcher, there's more interesting characters that are going to be added. There's just like, you're going to find so many just like even minor characters that you're going to fall in love with. And that's part of the why I'm telling everyone to get on board with The Witcher. Just like every book, there's so many new interesting characters that you fall in love with. Like, someone mentioned Regis earlier in the chat. He's someone that I can't wait to see in the show and what they do with him, and just like all of these other characters like Zoltan and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens with the show, where they go with everything. Obviously, it's an adaptation, so there's not going to be exactly the precise 100% carbon copy of what you see in the books, but certainly, like, they know, like, fan favorites. You know, I'm sure that people in the writers' room, they're having discussions about all this sort of stuff. But yeah, the world of The Witcher is certainly different than Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, and there's a lot to love about it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up the stream. We've been going here for quite a bit. It's been really, really, really fun. Let's just kind of do some kind of final thoughts. But first, what we're going to do is we're actually going to thank everyone in the chat for joining us today. Really, really appreciate all of you joining us, whether you're watching on The Witcher Addicts on Facebook, GeekChat1 on my Facebook page, or here on YouTube. This has been really fun, and it's actually been quite a long time since me, JR, and Robert all got together. So it's really nice to have a reunion and chat together, and to see all of you awesome people in chat. It's been really fun. And good thing there's going to be lots more Witcher content on the channel, everyone. So I'm going to be dropping my episode 5 review this weekend. I believe it's around 20 minutes long. I dive deep like I did in my last episode review. Like I said, I'm taking my time with those. But yeah, let's just kind of like final thoughts, Witcher season 1, and then we'll say our goodbyes. Let's do it. So who wants to go first, Robert or JR?
JR does.
JR does. How did JR do that? Final thoughts. I enjoyed it. It's enough to keep going. I'm glad that they have at least 3 seasons, and I'm pretty sure that they'll end up getting the full 7 out of this. Little nitpicks that I have here and there really don't matter because it's a great story. They got the right actors to play it. I have a lot of hopes for coming into The Witcher. And don't forget, nobody really knew about Game of Thrones until season 3. The Red Wedding is really what put Game of Thrones over the top and guaranteed the rest of the series. So, you know, be patient, relax, and enjoy it. We got some time coming, and we're going to watch it. It's going to be great. If you want to continue talking about all these kinds of things, whether it's Geralt and Game of Thrones or Marvel and DC, not the argument about which one is better, but embracing that you can enjoy art on both sides and enjoy literature on both sides, not by the brands that they wear. Come join the channel, GeekChat1. You can find us on Facebook or on YouTube. Obviously, you can click links, and Kyle's been so kind to put them below. He's by far the best host on YouTube. So thank you, Kyle.
Well, thank you so much for that. I hope I live up to that best host title that you've just given.
It's your OCD is what it is, because I know it's your OCD that won't let you to hit, go live until all the links are in everything.
Yeah. So you can find it's true. I am OCD. All of GeekChat1's links in the description of this video. Awesome Facebook page. I'm there chatting all the time. You can check JR's YouTube channel out as well in the description of the video. Robert from In Deep Geek.
I just want to say thank you, Kyle, for having me on. Guys, these two people are fantastic people, and I heartily recommend, if you're here, I'm sure you're already subscribed to Kyle's wonderful channel, but I heartily recommend you also check out GeekChat1, which is the home for all kinds of fantastic geekdom and nerddom, and just bringing people together, not just fans, creators, contributors, everyone. So, Kyle, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor. Anytime you want me on, just let me know.
You want to take that back, Robert.
Okay. Anytime you want me on, let me know, and I may say yes. Let's just leave it at that.
Just got to temper that down a bit.
Exactly.
You can find the link to Robert's YouTube channel in the description of this video, where you can, I'm sure he has links for Well Told Tale connected to his In Deep Geek page as well. So go check Robert out. He has awesome content, one of the best, maybe one of the best voices in the business. So go check him out. Awesome content. And of course, you're always welcome back, Robert. Thank you for coming on. I see another donation from Demon King. Thank you very much. And like I said again, thank you everyone joining in the chat. I'm just going to do another shout out. The Witcher Addicts, Shelby and Stacy, and all the people from the Witcher Addicts. Thank you so much for joining today. Link is in the description of this video if you want to go join our awesome Witcher community on Facebook. We're talking about everything The Witcher, memes, polls, all sorts of stuff like that. You can catch all of that there. And thank you to all the mods today. You guys were awesome. We only had a few bumps in the chat there where people were no real problem.
That's bait.
Yeah, that's bait. So we're going to end with a little singing. Robert, you're not done yet. We're going to end with a little singing and the stream. Toss a coin. Should we just do toss a coin?
If you want to do that, you're more than welcome.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So I'm the only one that's going to do it?
It's really a solo.
I mean, It's your channel. Come on.
Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your YouTuber, oh valley of plenty. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'll see you all in the next video. Don't unsubscribe.